Hi, it's Sandy Wyllie. Welcome to my mental health channel where I wipe away the stigma of mental illness by talking about my own struggles and experiences having borderline personality disorder. I talk about post-traumatic stress disorder. I talk about anxiety and depression. I talk about narcissism, schizophrenia, bipolar. I talk about all the different types of therapies that are out there and unethical therapists. But I only come on as a former patient of almost 20 years. That's true. No longer a patient, former. But I do not hold a degree in psychology. I am not a licensed therapist, so I cannot give you a professional opinion or diagnose you in any way. I can only share with you my personal experiences. Now, all I ask in turn of you is to please be kind in the comments. Be kind to me. Be kind to other people who comment. We don't have to agree on everything, but we do need to agree on showing kindness and respect. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Hit that subscribe button on the right. It's 100% free, and if you like what you see, hit the like button on the left there, because I like to know which videos you enjoy and which ones not so great. Please let me know if there's anything that you would like me to cover. If I have any experience in that area, I'll do it. I'll try to do it. Please feel free to share your experiences with me. I love when we have an open, honest dialogue between us, and you feel free to share what you've been through, and help me if you can in the comments if you know anything that is helpful. But today topic is, must we be prisoners of our past? Now, from the comments, a lot of you have been traumatized and abused as children. A lot of you have written me and told me that you, like myself, have been raised with narcissistic mothers. I was raised with a very narcissistic, abusive mother. Well, how do you get over that? It's not easy, and I'm gonna tell you something. I didn't get my complete freedom from my parents, both my parents. My father was paranoid schizophrenia, who was left home when I was a little girl. He was in and out of mental hospitals all my life. He had delusions, hallucinations. He heard voices. He got into psychotic rages and was very violent, but not toward me. My mother was very violent toward me. She was narcissistic. She thought she was the best mother in the world, and I'm not going to go into it all because I have over 1,000 videos. I think 1,500, 1,700 videos that a lot of them just focus on that. But I didn't really break free from my past until both my parents died when I was 38 years old. They died back to back. I've mentioned that in other videos. My mother died at age 74 of cardiac arrest. My father died at age 71 of terminal liver cancer. That's when I finally broke free of both of them, because they're no longer living. I sold the house. I still have nightmares about my old house where I was raised, and it's a two-family house. I have nightmares all the time about that house because so much tragedy happened in that house. I was severely beaten in that house. My mother used to physically abuse and verbally abuse me and my father. My son almost died in that house. He was taken away at 4 years old and put in a hospital for 2 years, and then the rest of his life he's been institutionalized. He got deathly sick and in a coma with his eyes rolled back in his head at 4 years old on Easter weekend. He was in a coma all weekend. from pneumococcal meningitis in that house. My mother died in that house, collapsed in the living room. My father died in that house. He collapsed from cancer. He was like 105, pounds in the kitchen. So they've been horrendous. There were rats in that house. I mean, it was a horrific experience. My husband told me that I should have never stayed in that house. When I was 22, I got married to my husband, and we moved upstairs because my mother and father owned a 2-family house. So there was one apartment, I had 2 apartments, 2 families. So one family downstairs where my parents lived, and then the second family upstairs, and that's where we moved in. At the time that I moved there, when I first got married, I was a virgin, and my husband was a virgin when we married. I wasn't aware that I was abused. I wasn't aware that my mother was narcissistic. I wasn't aware that my father had schizophrenia. I didn't know I had borderline personality disorder. I didn't know I had post-traumatic stress disorder or complex. Now that I've figured that out, I had complex post-traumatic stress disorder. I did a video about that. I didn't know any of these things. And as long as you're in the forest, you can't see, the trees. You ever hear of that? Because you're in the middle of it, So if you're still living with your parents or heavily involved with your parents, like where they're controlling your life in any way, making you feel guilty, and you're a caregiver of your parents or anything like that, I don't think you can really break free. You really need to. The only time I broke free of it was when both my parents died when I was 38 back to back. And that's when I started going to therapy. Although the therapist sexually abused me, and then I've done tons of videos about that, it did make me more psychologically aware. It's just like if you take psychology courses in college, right? You become more psychologically aware of, things that you didn't know before. Like just recently, I discovered through my own, studying the literature, watching videos, that I have complex post-traumatic stress disorder. I did a whole video on that. I didn't even know what complex post-traumatic stress disorder was. All I knew was post-traumatic stress disorder. See, so I learned something each and every day, because doing these videos, it helps, it educates me, okay? So it's helpful to me as well as helpful to other people like you guys. So the first thing I would say, if you don't want to be a prisoner of your past, then your past can't be in your present or your future. Meaning, if you want to, not be a prisoner of your past, you can't be still with the people who are abusing you. You can't still be involved if, say, it's your parents. You have a narcissistic mother. You can't still be with her. You have to break away. You have to break free. Because as long as you're involved with abusive people, abusive parents, no matter what age you are, if you're an adult, and even if you're living away from them, or if you're their caregiver, or you feel responsible, you have to look in on them, you're still going to be a prisoner of your past. You have to break free of your past. And breaking free of your past is separating yourself away from the people of your past that are hurting you in your present. If they're hurting you in your present, then there's no place for them, okay? You have to release for peace. Release for peace, okay? You have to release those people in order to go forward, or you're always going to be stuck and you're always going to be a prisoner. You need to get away from them completely, okay? Completely, not partially. Once my parents died, then I could recognize how badly abused I was. But I never saw it when I was living with my parents. I never saw it until they died when I was 38 years old. I never saw it. I didn't, either I dissociated, okay? You can dissociate and have, like, not, be out of body and not recognize what's really going on to you, like you're in the moment, but you're looking down on your body. You're not really present. I think I did videos on dissociation where you're not in your body. So if you're being badly abused, you're outside of it. That's the only way you can survive. And I dissociated so many times that I wasn't aware, because I was outside my body. I wasn't aware of what was going on, like the body is just a container, right? I don't know how spiritual you people are, or whatnot, but the body is just a container. It's just like in death, right? Your body dies, but your spirit lives on, if you believe that, right? I believe that. Your spirit lives on. Your body, the physical form of you may be dead, but your spirit is endless, infinite. Look at this. This is the infinite sign. Infinite. That 8 on the side. Infinite. That's why I have this on. So, whatever the reason, you have to separate. And then once you separate it for a while, just like with my psychologist, you can see things more clearly. Distance brings clarity, okay? And you can see things more clearly once you're completely separated from the toxic people, the toxic environment. And then it's time to own what happens, That's when, after my parents died, I started realizing the severe traumatic abuse that I suffered, that I have borderline personality disorder, that my mother was narcissistic, my father was schizophrenic. I had no idea. I was in my 30s. I didn't know I had borderline personality. So I never went to a psychologist before I was like 38. Never been to a psychologist until 38. So I didn't know. What's borderline personality disorder? I don't know. What's that? At that age, I didn't know. What's narcissism? What? I don't know what that is. What's schizophrenia? All I learned growing up was your father's not right. Your father's crazy. Everyone knows what crazy means, not normal, That's what they would say. They'd say, your father's, crazy. He's not right. That's about it. So then once, you're out of that, you can acknowledge, and I think it's very important in your recovery, not to be a prisoner of your past, is to acknowledge your past. Say, this is what happened to me, and no, it's not okay that it happened to me, that it wasn't right, it's not fair, but life isn't fair, as we all know, and, and now I've got to come to terms with it in the present, so that I can put it behind me, so I can go forward into the future and not be a prisoner of my past. But you've got to come to terms with it. And the only way you can come to terms with it is by getting away from it, separating from it completely. Okay? Separating from that completely. And then you have to self-reflect. You have to accept what happens. You have to own what happens, and then you can start healing from it. You can't heal from something that you don't accept or own. You can't heal from something that is still happening. If you're still involved with your narcissistic mother, you're not going to heal from that. If you don't accept that your narcissistic mother, even though you're an adult, is badly abusing you and using you, you're not going to heal from that. You see what I'm saying? You can't. Or if it's your husband, your boyfriend, whoever it is in your life, right? Maybe it's your parent, your parent, your narcissistic mother, or maybe it's your child. I don't know. Could be. You have to break away completely, and then you have to own what happens, and you have to start the process of, accepting your past, seeing it clearly. That's how, if you look at that, the Christmas story about Ebenezer Scrooge, right? Christmas Carol, when he looks at his past, present, and future, when he's seeing into it clearly, that's when he changed, okay? That's when he starts changing. And you can too. You don't have to be a prisoner of your past. That's what I'm trying to get you to see. Listen to me. I am no longer a prisoner of my past, okay? Because I broke away from the people who were abusing me, all the people. I mean, my parents died, so I couldn't control that. But I broke away from the psychologists that sexually abused me and sexually exploited me. I've written books about that. It's been 3 years. I broke completely away from those people who severely abused me. 3 years now, I haven't, been with any psychologist or any person for that matter who was abusive. And then I started accepting what happened to me, that I wasn't in a relationship with my psychologist. He sexually abused me. It's the equivalent of incest. It's called rape, because I couldn't give consent. So I had to acknowledge, yes, I was abused. No, it wasn't a relationship. Yes, my mother beat me up and she was narcissistic and abused me. Once I separated from them, once I put them behind me, and then in the present owned what happened to me, what these people did to me. And now I'm healing more and more each day. And you can too. We don't have to be prisoners of our past, but we have to leave the past, leave the people who hurt us in the past. Don't take them with us into the future. Don't take that boyfriend, mother, husband, child, or whoever it is. Don't take them into the future with you. You got to leave them behind, and then accept what happened. You have to be honest with yourself, about what happened to you. You have to own it. You have to work through it yourself. I mean, if you're lucky enough to work through it with a therapist, they didn't help me. They only sexually, abused me. So I never worked through it in therapy. I worked through it on my own, okay? But you can work through it, whether it's on your own or with someone else, and then put that away in a box, store it in your attic, shut it away, and then build your future, okay? Knowing you can learn from it. I never want to be with someone narcissistic again. I'm much more, I'm very intuitive now, going forward into my future, that I will never let anyone mistreat me, okay? For the first time in my life. I don't care if I don't have any friends. I'm never going to let anyone hurt me again. So it's not like I'm not open to friendship. I was open to friendship, and I came across a narcissistic woman who was very critical of me, put me down. She wanted the relationship on her terms, completely. And I said no. Okay, I ran from that. I didn't let, but years ago I would have just been friends with her because, but see, I've learned. So the past has helped me learn, so I'm no longer tied to that. I'm no longer a prisoner of that. I've learned from that. So going forward, I make much better choices now. And you can too. So, let me know in the comments, what you think, what I'm telling you. If you're in one of those abusive relationships, whether it's your parents or your husband, or you really need to cut clean and break free of it. Otherwise, you'll never heal. That's just my opinion. You're not going to heal if you stay in it.